A lot of you have taken classes or been in groups where you're painting outside or even in a classroom situation and you get really nervous. And this is what happened to me with this piece. I did this about 10 years ago and I took a class with a very esteemed artist, watercolor artist. Hi. And I was really nervous and scared. It was the first time for me ever taking a class of this nature. And we were outside and I knew what I wanted to paint, but I had a hard time doing it. So I turned out something that to me wasn't that great. So now what I'm going to try and do is 10 years later, redo this, and I'm going to pop a picture of what it looked like originally on the screen. And so you can see what happened when I painted outside. There's so many things that I've learned in the 10 years that I've been doing this that I can now apply to it. So I wanted to go in and do some lifting on it, which is an unusual technique, but very helpful in watercolor, I have found, particularly when I want to correct. So I'm going to take this old piece and show you how I went ahead and started lifting it, and let's see if I'm able to save it. Now, I may not be able to save it. That's okay too, but it's worth a try. So I went ahead and I popped on the screen, or will pop up on the screen, the original of what this looked like. So you can see how overworked and messy it was. I wasn't paying attention to values, shadows, light. Heck, I was nervous and I just started putting paint down, which happens a lot when you're in a class. So let me show you some of the first steps that I've taken in lifting so I can maybe get something decent out of this. Okay, here's the painting. And what I did was I started with something called, let me see if I can get that on camera for you, probably not. This is a very dirty, looks like a sponge. It's called Magic Eraser. It comes under many names. I think Mr. Clean makes it. This is not sponsored, but you can find similar product on Amazon and in your stores, by the grocery store that you get it in, by Mr. Clean, all sorts of people. This is a magic eraser without any extra cleaning product in it. And you're going to see it's got some paint on it. And what I did, let's pick something here. I'm taking this spray bottle and I dampened this. I'm taking a clean edge. It makes a squeaky sound. Now you have to be careful not to do too much lifting, but this is the amount of paint I got off, because what I'm trying to do is lighten some of this. Let's see if we can get some more. Now, if you're using less expensive paper, I think I'm using an Arches or a Fabriano, it's not going to lift as well. But that gives you an idea how you can lift with Magic Eraser. Now, I've got tissues here. I always have tissues, right? That are kind of dirty. Another thing that you can do, oh gosh, let's pick this up here, because I know I'm going to just repaint this. I dampened this with this spray bottle again. Oh gosh. And I'm lifting kind of gently. I want to get some of the overwashes that I've done, the overglazes, so that I could maybe worry about the focal point, which I think will be here. Now, this was a door that was not used in the cabin, and I kind of focused on all these plants covering it, which tells a story about how you really can't get into this door, into this building. So I want to focus on keeping this light and bright. So one of the ways, again, that you can lift, and I'm spraying here, and I'm going to try not to let it drip here, is by doing this. Again, this is really, really good paper. I wouldn't try this with too much inexpensive paper, or if you do, be very gentle, very gentle. And you can see there's dirt, paint, old paint. This is from 10 years ago, but I'm very careful with my watercolors, and I keep them stored in a dry place away from the light, so I can actually almost rework anything that I've done if it's on decent paper. Let's see, where else do I want to lift this? Right now, I kind of like these shadows right here. Another way to lift is, pardon my head and my glasses, is taking a paper towel. Now, I don't like using paper towels when I'm lifting because I find they leave sometimes some film, sometimes particles from the paper towels. And I think paper towels are treated more than we realize, but they are also a good scrubber. So where shall I lift next? I'm going to go behind this door here. Now, I am aiming this water bottle onto this area pretty well. If I'm lifting the green or it's mixing in, that's fine. You know, sometimes, and you can see you've got a little bit of paint dirt there. Sometimes I take a tissue and a paper towel and I actually kind of paint with it by using texture. But it takes up, I don't know if you can see how much it takes up. It takes up quite a bit of paint. Do I want to mess with this? Actually, I think I did a pretty decent job over here. Let's use this as a pointer right here. Notice I was vain, I signed it, but you know, always sign your work even though you hate it because you may go back later and redo it. I do like these shadows here. I kind of like what went on here. But what I want to do, I think I want to lift a little bit here because the light's coming this way. All right, so what are my options? What would happen? I'm going to take a brush and dip it in some clean water. If I just, let's start up here. If I just dampen this area. Now sometimes it's a good idea to let the water just sit there for a minute. And we're going to sit there for a minute, or a second, or 2 seconds. And I'm going to go ahead and lift it. What I'm finding is, yes, it's lifting the color. Trying just to put the water where the plant is. And I'm also liking the fact that the lifting is blending more with the background here. So this would be more of my focal point. All right, let's do a little bit of lifting here. Spray bottle aimed at the area I want. I didn't wait as long. But you can see, or can you see? Maybe not. You can see that there is paint coming up. Don't wet, I mean, some people wet the whole thing. I've heard of people doing that and repainting it because what they have is a, whoops, and you'll see it kind of does drip. They have a decent underpainting. Watercolor works in layers and glazes. You can see I'm putting a little effort into this. So even by lifting, you have some initial washes down here that you can work on and build on. The trick with this one's going to be, and I'm going to lift some more here and here. Try Mr. Clean, and I'm hesitant, but let's see what happens. I'm just gently dabbing it here and there. I don't have the photograph from this anymore. Oh no. So I guess I'm going to have to use my imagination. Imagine that. So you got some green coming up there too, if you can see that. I used a lot of paint. The instructor I had was very big on painting with a lot of pigment, especially if you're working outside. And this is dripping, and you can see I'm catching these drips. They're not going to make a big difference because the paper is bone dry. So I've got that lifted. If it mixes into what the wall of the building is, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. Let me sit a little bit more comfortably here. All right, now the paper's pretty damp. Where else do I want to lift? Maybe a few places here and there. My sponge is pretty dirty. I don't know if I want it. I have some pieces here. So I'm going to take, rather than spraying, I'm going to go in where I'm already seeing lighter areas. And I'm lifting there. Don't know how this is going to, I'm kind of not happy with this. But again, as I said in the beginning, there's no guarantees. And you can see my hand going over here to my water. Do we want to mess too much? Because if we're messing too much, and I'm going for a tissue on this one, we're going to start blending color together, and I want to keep some of that pure color and white underpainting. So I think a brush might be a better tool, and a tissue. When you look outside and the sun is coming through an area where there's branches and leaves, you'll see there's dappling. You need to start when you're painting, if you're really serious about making your work better. I found that I looked and studied nature a lot. I would go for long walks. And here you see I'm lifting. But going back to the long walk thing, I'd go for long walks. I'd have music going, and I would be looking at the trees surrounding me. I think I'm going to lift all of this here too, lightly, because I do like that bright yellow. Let's see, what else are we going to do? This is just in prep for painting. I'll set it up when I'm going to paint, and we'll explore it together. I can't guarantee this is going to work. Another tool I have, which I don't like using too often, is I've taken a brush. I have a hard time with focusing for you guys. I've taken a brush. It's an acrylic brush. This one happens to be an oil brush that I never painted in oil in, and I cut the bristles down. So I have a little scrubby point. The problem with this is, yes, it works, but you have to be very careful about scrubbing and not taking off the finish of the paper. This is a very good paper. This is a 140 cold press, I believe Fabriano. It could be Arches. Now remember, this was 10 years ago. And I'm just hitting certain things, which I want to make them sparkle a little bit more. I'm just gently, gently, gently putting that brush in there, and I'm cleaning it in between. And you'll have to pardon my arm as I reach for my water. And I'm taking that tissue and lifting the color with it. I don't know if you can see it there. You'll have to trust me. How did I learn to do this? Oh gosh, I learned to do it by making mistakes. That's all I can say. It's like I always tell my students, and I teach watercolor at a local art center. I tell my students, half of the game in watercolor is knowing how to fix it, and the other half is knowing how to put it down. Let's see. I have something here that's bothering me, and I'm starting to see an issue where I'm scrubbing way too much, but I'm effectively lifting some of this paper. I want to keep this dark, but I want to give a little bit white underneath as it's overlapping into that doorway. Now, I'm not saying this is the perfect solution. Let's do a little bit of blending here. You can also blend with this tool if you're careful not to scrape your paper. I think I'm going to let this be for now, and then we're going to go in and paint later and see how we can bring this up a little bit more. So here's a way you can do a little correcting by lifting.